Rumpelstiltskin emerged from one of the most unsettling folktales ever documented, a narrative so eerie and bizarre that it has endured through the centuries, still managing to unsettle readers today. Unlike traditional villains, he doesn't rely on brute strength or a menacing appearance to make an impact. His true power lies in manipulation, in crafting sinister bargains, and in exploiting people's desperation when they have no other options. Over time, this character became a defining figure of the darker side of fairy tales. He's been reimagined in countless adaptations, each one diving deeper into his cunning, his twisted sense of justice, and his unnerving charm. These portrayals consistently highlight his talent for bending situations to his will, all without ever lifting a finger. The most well-known version of his story, the one that shaped his legend, goes like this. The story begins with a poor miller who, despite having nothing, was full of pride and eager to impress. In a bold attempt to gain favor, he tells the king an outrageous lie, that his daughter possesses a magical gift, the ability to spin straw into gold. The king, driven by insatiable greed, doesn't hesitate for a second. If the claim is true, it could bring unimaginable wealth to the kingdom. If it's false, the girl would pay the price. Without delay, the king summons the miller's daughter and locks her in a room packed with straw, stacked from floor to ceiling. Before leaving, he gives a chilling ultimatum. By morning, I want all of this turned to gold. If not, you die. The girl, terrified and powerless, spends the night weeping, unable to imagine a way out. That's when a strange little man appears, short, oddly dressed, with unsettling features and an air of trouble. He asks why she's crying, listens to her story, and offers a solution. He actually spins the straw into gold. In return, he asks for something simple, her necklace. Desperate, she agrees. By dawn, the room glows with gold and the king is stunned, but not satisfied. Instead of setting her free, he moves her to an even larger room filled with more straw and demands the same miracle. Once again, the girl breaks down, and again the strange man returns. He spins the straw into gold, this time asking for her ring as payment. On the third night, the king takes it further. He places her in a grand hall overflowing with straw and declares, "If you turn all this into gold, I'll make you my queen." The pressure is greater than ever, and now the girl has nothing left to offer. The mysterious figure shows up one last time. When she explains she has nothing more to give, he names his price. "I'll help you, but in return you'll give me your firstborn child." Cornered and hopeless, she agrees. Once again, he keeps his word. By morning, the straw is gold, the king is overjoyed, and true to his promise, he marries her. Time passes and the girl becomes queen. Eventually, she gives birth to her first child. By then, the terrifying deal is almost forgotten, almost. But Rumpelstiltskin doesn't forget. He returns, demanding what was promised. Horrified, the queen begs him to reconsider. She offers gold, jewels, even the entire kingdom, but he refuses. To him, a deal is a deal. But Rumpelstiltskin offers one final chance. "If you can guess my name within 3 days, the child stays with you. Fail and he's mine." On the first day, the queen tries every common name she can think of, John, Peter, William, Henry, but none are correct. On the second day, she sends messengers across the entire kingdom to gather the most unusual and obscure names they can find. Still, none match. Then, on the third and final day, one of her servants returns with unexpected news. Deep in the forest, he had seen a strange little man dancing around a fire, chanting to himself, "Today I cook, tomorrow I bake. Soon the queen's child I will take. Oh, how glad I am none can claim. That Rumpelstiltskin is my name." Armed with this discovery, the queen waits patiently. At the agreed time, the little man appears, already gloating, convinced that victory is his. He leans in with a smirk and asks, "Well then, your majesty, what is my name?" She pretends to hesitate. She throws out a few wrong guesses, letting him enjoy the moment, thinking he's won. Then, without warning, she says, "Your name is Rumpelstiltskin." The expression on his face changes instantly. Shock turns to fury. He screams, stomps, and rages uncontrollably. In some versions of the tale, he vanishes into the woods, never to be seen again. In others, he completely loses control, tearing himself apart in a fit of rage and vanishing from existence. Either way, the queen wins. Her child remains safely with her, and the nightmare finally ends. In the Shrek universe, Rumpelstiltskin makes his first appearance in the third film, but it's brief and largely insignificant. His design was different, and it's evident that the character hadn't yet been developed with a major role in mind. At that point, he had no real impact on the plot and didn't carry the presence of a serious antagonist. Everything changes in the fourth installment. Rumpelstiltskin returns, reimagined from the ground up. Though still small in stature and seemingly harmless, he quickly proves to be far more dangerous, using cunning, manipulation, and psychological control to get what he wants. He doesn't rely on force, but on strategy and deceit. The film also gives us a glimpse into his background and the world he comes from. Rumpelstiltskin lived on the fringes of society, surrounded by witches in a place marked by poverty, neglect, and exclusion. It's a forgotten corner of the kingdom, feared and shunned by others, which adds depth to his resentment and explains much of his bitterness and ambition. At the same time, King Harold and Queen Lillian were desperately trying to break the curse that kept Fiona locked away in a tower. After exhausting every possible solution, they turned to Rumpelstiltskin as a last resort. He offered them a way out, but as always, there was a cost. In exchange for freeing the princess, he demanded the ultimate price: the throne of Far, Far Away. The royal couple was on the verge of accepting Rumpelstiltskin's deal when, at the last moment, they received unexpected news. Fiona had been rescued by her true love, Shrek. This event completely shattered Rumpelstiltskin's plan. Furious, he began to harbor a deep grudge against the ogre, whom he blamed for ruining his only chance at seizing the throne of Far, Far Away. That resentment grows over time, and Rumpelstiltskin patiently waits for the right opportunity to strike. He finally sees his chance when he notices Shrek becoming increasingly dissatisfied with his current life. The ogre misses the days when he was feared, when people ran at the mere sound of his name. Sensing this vulnerability, Rumpelstiltskin approaches him with a magical offer: one day to relive his former life as a feared, untamed ogre. In exchange, all Shrek has to give up is a single day from his past, one that seems unimportant. What Shrek doesn't realize is that the contract has been rigged. Rumpelstiltskin deliberately chooses the day Shrek was born. By removing that moment from the timeline, he ensures that Shrek never existed, and therefore never rescued Fiona from the tower. This twist allows Rumpelstiltskin to rewrite history in his favor. In this altered timeline, with no Shrek to intervene, Harold and Lillian are forced to accept the very deal they once rejected. As a result, the kingdom falls into Rumpelstiltskin's hands, and the king and queen vanish from existence altogether. At last, the villain becomes ruler of Far, Far Away. In this new reality, Donkey explains that everyone already knows Rumpelstiltskin's name, which means he can no longer rely on secrecy like in the original fairy tale. Instead, he adapts, hiding loopholes and traps within his contracts, always ensuring there's a hidden clause that makes them nearly impossible to break. In Once Upon a Time, Rumpelstiltskin is reinterpreted with a complex and detailed origin. Rather than being simply a villain, he is shown as a character shaped by abandonment, loss, ambition, and guilt. As a child, Rumpel is raised by his father, Malcolm, who is irresponsible and constantly running from his mistakes. After losing everything, Malcolm abandons Rumpel with a group of women who teach him to spin. Before leaving, he gives Rumpel a straw doll named Peter Pan. Later, Rumpel and his father travel to Neverland using a magic bean, where Malcolm chooses to stay forever as a child and abandons Rumpel again. Malcolm becomes Peter Pan, and Rumpel is returned alone to the enchanted forest, deeply traumatized. Years later, during the Ogre War, Rumpel learns from a seer that he will die and his son, Balefire, will grow up without him. Trying to avoid this fate, he injures himself to escape battle, and from that moment is seen as a coward. His wife, Mila, eventually leaves him for the pirate Killian Jones, Captain Hook, leaving Rumpel to raise Balefire alone. When Balefire is forced to join the war at age 14, Rumpel seeks power to protect him. He kills the previous Dark One, Zoso, using the enchanted dagger, and becomes the new Dark One. The transformation makes him immortal and extremely powerful, but also corrupts him. Rumpel begins acting with cruelty, including killing Mila and cutting off Hook's hand after confronting them. Despite gaining power, Rumpel loses what he values most. Balefire begs him to give up his magic so they can live a normal life, but Rumpel refuses. When Balefire opens a portal to a land without magic, Rumpel hesitates and lets him go. The portal closes and Balefire disappears. Determined to find his son again, Rumpel spends years manipulating events to create the Dark Curse, which brings all fairy tale characters to another world. His actions throughout the series are driven by the desire to reunite with Balefire, even as he continues to fall back into darkness. Over time, Rumpel struggles between the corruption of the Dark One's power and his capacity for love, especially through his relationship with Belle. With her, he reveals vulnerability and the possibility of change, though his fear of losing power repeatedly leads him back into destructive choices. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Rumpelstiltskin and want more videos like this, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel keep bringing you this kind of content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And while you're here, go ahead and click one of the videos on the end screen to keep exploring the worlds of movies and series with us.